Hey ladies, thanks for joining me today. If you're new here, my name is Mitzi and I'm a paper girlie, and if you're a returner, well, welcome back. Okay girls, so today what are we talking about? We're talking about companionship. And yes, I realize that we have talked about friendship, we have talked about girlfriends, we have talked about relationships. Today we're talking about companionship. And are they similar things? Of course they are. But I just really think that, here for us, women of a certain age, relationships mean a whole lot to us. They are very, very important to us. So I thought, you know what? I wrote it down. So obviously at the time, a few weeks ago, I thought it was important to talk about companionship. So we're going to just dive right into it. We're going to dive right into a quote, and then into the prompts, and then into a little bit of a story. Okay, so the quote that I picked out today, well, it is by Oscar Wilde. And if you are unfamiliar with who Oscar Wilde is, he was a writer from Dublin, and he wrote some pretty famous stuff. Honestly, I haven't read a whole lot of his stuff, but I do, well, to be real frank, I didn't even read this of Oscar Wilde. I'm familiar with his name, I'm familiar with his works, but mostly I'm familiar with a Reese Witherspoon and I think it was Rupert Everett movie called The Importance of Being Earnest. And it came out, I want to say probably in the 2000s. It is a period piece, and actually the quote doesn't even come from this, but that is where you might know the name Oscar Wilde from. Anyway, the quote originates from his famous letter De Profundis, which highlights Wilde's belief that deep, meaningful dialogue is the glue that holds relationships together. So that's why I chose out this quote. And the quote is, "Ultimately, the bond of all companionship, whether in marriage or in friendship, is conversation." So I thought that that made sense here, since I'm coming on here to have these conversations with you ladies. So I thought that would be a perfect quote for today, for the conversation on companionship. Okay, so let's get to the prompts. Again, I have more than just one prompt here, and I have them in categories again. I think that works out well for a lot of you gals to have, a few different categories, and then you can pick one out from one of these categories. So these are the prompts. Okay, so the first ones actually deal with romantic partnerships, and it basically just focuses on romantic bonds that strengthen emotional connection and explore the relationship history that you have with that person. So the first one is, what is a specific moment when you felt most deeply connected or understood by your partner? And then the second one is, explore your ideas of vulnerability. What makes you feel safe enough to share your true feelings or fears with your partner? So those have to do with romantic partnerships. And then the next two are about platonic friendships or just community in general. And these are prompts, to think about, the appreciation of your friends, cultivating community, and then evaluating your social circles. So the first one here is, think of a friend who showed you unexpected kindness. What did they do, and how did it affect your relationship? And then the second one is, write about an inside joke or a shared memory with a friend that always brings you warmth or makes you smile. Something that always makes you giggle. So those are the prompts. And if you don't have someone specific to think about when writing those prompts, then I have one last one. And this is, what does the word companionship mean to you when you're applying it to platonic friends versus romantic partners? So I hope that between all of those, you can find something that works for you, that can get your mind thinking, to write something down in your notebook. Okay, so if that's all you wanted was, the quote and the introduction and the prompts, there you go, girls. Have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you back here tomorrow. And for the rest of you gals, what time is it? Well, we know what time it is. It is story time. Okay, so what am I going to talk about today? Well, in lieu of my week, I'm actually going to talk about my parents. I'm going to talk about my parents and use them as an example of companionship over the years. Because gals, my parents have been married for 60 plus years. They have been married for 60 plus years. And I have just seen the evolution of them, and what it means to be a companion to someone, to really take that word down to the very basic of the definition of companionship. Because what did we say at the very beginning? Well, let me look down here real quick. It says companionship, ultimately the bond of all companionship, whether in marriage or in friendship, is conversation. That is back from the quote from Oscar Wilde. And goodness, have I seen my parents talk over the years. I have seen them talk over the years. I've seen them discuss things over the years. And you know what? Now, at this point in life, that is all they have. That is all they have is conversation. Because like I've mentioned here before, my mother is at end-stage Parkinson's, and goodness gracious, the conversation that she has is, a lot of times it's silent. A lot of the conversation that I have seen between the two of them, because they have over 60 years together, is just, with their eyes. Deep, meaningful, intimate conversation that is just done with my mom, with her eyes. Because unfortunately, when it comes to Parkinson's, specifically end-stage Parkinson's, because it's a muscle disorder, even though cognitively she can be taking in all the information and she may be wanting to put out information, the muscle keeps her from being able to speak clearly, and also to just get those words in her mind out through her mouth. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how conversation plays into companionship. Because as we have talked throughout this entire series so far, whether it comes to romantic relationships or platonic relationships, I firmly believe that it all just, comes down to basic conversation, basic communication, and how important that is, and what a huge role that plays into our lives as women of a certain age that are looking for companionship, that are looking for people to have deep conversation with, and also when we're looking for people in our lives that can really see us, understand us, accept us, and well, at the end of the day, just really have compassion for the women that we're becoming. So, girls, it has been a week. It has been a week, and I think on top of everything else that has happened to me this week, what I have really kind of picked up on, spending time with my parents, spending time with my mother, is that conversation, companionship, it is often silent. And oh my goodness, there's something about silence that is so really beautiful. Just so really beautiful. If you think about all the things that we, take in silence, whether it is a sunset, whether it is looking at a piece of art, whether it is, watching a movie by ourselves silently, there are so many things that just encompass our lives that we do in silence, but we get so much out of. And once again, I was reminded this past week, being with my mother as she sat there in silence as we watched movies. Every once in a while she would, smirk. We watched Steel Magnolias. Have we seen it before? Yeah, of course we've seen it before. We've seen it 100 times before, but it is one of our favorite movies. And so I knew that, we could watch it one more time, sitting in silence and enjoy it together. Or watching the sunset. My parents live, they live right above, one street up from where I normally stay when I'm in Bellingham, and they have that beautiful view of the bay, that beautiful view, every night as the sun sets, they get that beautiful view. And so we can sit there in the evening watching the sunset in silence and just taking the beauty of that. Over the last couple of years, I have watched my father do so much in silence that it is just really just breathtaking. It is breathtaking because this is a man that grew up, at the end of the Depression where roles were very defined. They were defined of man things and woman things. And I grew up in a household where my father did not cook and clean. However, as my mother has declined over the last few years, he has stepped up. He has stepped up and in silence, meaning not a peep out of him about, goodness gracious, now he's got to do all these things. No, he has just stepped up and become her caretaker in the sense of that he has cooked. He has cooked for her, he has cleaned for her, he has done all the things necessary in order to take care of her to the best of his abilities. And all of these things, whether it's making breakfast in the morning in silence, and then sitting at the table, eating breakfast together, drinking coffee together in silence, whether it is him folding clothes in silence. These are all things that he has done for my mother. And it is just really a magical thing to watch, to observe. So, girls, I know that some of us, some of us are married, some of us are not. Some of us are looking for long-term companionship, some of us are not. But girls, if I'm talking about companionship in the sense about conversation, sometimes that conversation is silent. Sometimes you can find companionship in, goodness, a notebook. Because if it is all about conversation, and I'm coming on here saying conversation can sometimes just be silent, then think about that. Think about that. And that's why I come on here so passionate about journaling in general, is because sometimes the most important conversations are the conversations we have in silence with ourselves. So yeah, it has been eye-opening for me to spend the last few days with my parents, because it is just a reminder of that after all of these years, 60 plus years now, to where it really is just a caretaking companionship relationship. Yes, still in love, but that is the basis of what the relationship looks like now. That it is about the conversations that they still are able to have, even in silence, that it makes it, really, really special. So, girls, I'm going to get back to those prompts so that we can get out of here, carry on. We all know that I'm heading out of town, so I'm trying to get some of these made ahead of time so they can drop for you. So I'm going to get back to the prompts, and I'm just going to read them out real quick. Okay, so the prompts for today. The first one was, what is a specific moment when you felt most deeply connected or understood by your partner? Number 2 is, explore your ideas on vulnerability. What makes you feel safe enough to share your true feelings or fears with your partner? Then we have, think of a friend who showed you unexpected kindness. What did they do, and how did that affect your relationship? Number 4 is, write about an inside joke or shared memory with a friend that always brings you warmth or makes you smile, makes you giggle. And then the last one is, what does the word companionship mean to you when applied to platonic friends versus romantic partners? So those are the prompts today. And then the quote that I want to finish this on, is by Elizabeth Gilbert. And Elizabeth Gilbert, she's the author who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. She wrote The Big Magic that we're going to do. The book is going to be in our book club here in the future. But she also is the author of this quote. And the reason that I picked out this quote is because I thought that it really kind of themed out good with what I'm talking about today. Talking about companionship, talking about silence, talking about the idea of journaling in silence at night, having a conversation with yourself, being your own, good companion. So this is the quote. This is intimacy, the trading of stories in the dark. This act, the act of quiet nighttime talking, illustrates for me more than anything else the curious alchemy of companionship. So gals, that's what I have to say about companionship today. I hope that you will take some time in silence, writing down, one of those prompts. So if you are new to my channel and you got something out of this, you enjoy journaling, you enjoy journal prompts, I hope that you will like and subscribe so that I'm easy to find tomorrow. I do drop things almost every single day. And also we have a Facebook group. We have a Facebook group called the Paper Girlie Studio. It is just a group of women that are into journaling, women that are into stickers and paper and stationery and all that kind of fun stuff over on Facebook. There is a link in the description under this video and it will just pop you over. There's a couple of questions that we ask you and then it will pop you through. So if that sounds like something fun to you, I hope that you'll come and join us over there as well. Okay, gals, thanks for joining me today. Until next time, from one paper girlie to another. Bye.